by apologizing for the cancellation of the press conference yesterday evening. We were of course prepared to have it, but in view of the evolution of the consultations, it was not possible to have it. So sorry for the inconvenience for those who were on the way or already there. But in any case, of course, it was beyond my power to influence it in any other way. So I'm at your disposal.
Thank you. Any questions?
François Murphy from Reuters. Hi, DG. I'm just trying to understand what you mean. So you're saying that you were still trying to reach some kind of agreement with Iran overnight, and now that hasn't gone anywhere, or are you still speaking to them? What's the situation?
The way I describe this is that our consultations, our negotiations have been inconclusive. Meaning that we could not finish. I'm not, giving up on trying to find some understanding, but in terms of what we were discussing yesterday, we could not conclude on an agreement. That's what it means.
Sorry, that can be understood two ways, right? So inconclusive could mean we haven't gotten anywhere yet, we don't know whether it's positive or negative, or it means we've stopped talking and we couldn't reach an agreement. So which of those two is it?
I would say that of course, we concluded yesterday. We are still talking, but not in terms of dotting an I or crossing a T and seeing whether we can agree today on what we could not agree yesterday. But the issues are still there, and we are still talking. So I think it's. I wouldn't get into too much elaboration of whether we're still talking or not. We are constantly talking. We could not agree yesterday, in spite of my best efforts. We could not agree yesterday. I made great efforts, but we couldn't.
So, hi DG, I'm Stephanie Lichtenstein, freelance journalist. So I was wondering if you could maybe try to elaborate a bit on your negotiations with Iran. There are also some theories floating that maybe Iran demanded some concessions from you in exchange for providing you access to Karaj. I think the Wall Street Journal today reports that there was a connection made to the safeguards probe, and I'm wondering if you could comment on that, or maybe give us a bit of detail where the negotiation stands. Thank you.
I would hesitate to do that because a negotiation that does not succeed, basically, I don't want to turn into an exercise of apportioning blame. You know what the issues are, basically. We have, in particular, I want to restore the monitoring and verification capacities that we need. Restore cameras, service the equipment, all of these things. These are very important, and I need to do this. And we have a deficit there, which I have identified in my reports. And then we have a number of outstanding issues in terms of safeguards matters. In the course of a negotiation, you try different things, you approach it in a different way, different combinations. It was not possible for Iran to agree with us. That's what I would say.
Any further questions? Yes.
Hello,
Hello.
Homa Leslie from Press TV. Yesterday I was listening to your press conference and remarks in Tehran, and you said that you believed the talks were constructive, very constructive.
Yes.
But then when I read your statement today and you used the word the discussions were inconclusive, it sounded as if you're striking a different tone, almost contradictory. So I just want you to tell me.
No, there's no contradiction. The talks were constructive. The talks were correct. The talks were professional. So that is one thing. But we could not reach an agreement.
But then this means that you believe it is possible still
We
to...
must reach an agreement. We must do it.
Turkish News Agency Anadolu. That means you have to continue to speak with Iranian authorities.
Always.
Always. And you have any short date or any time?
No. Of course, I was there visiting. We had this day-long negotiation, and yesterday our talks were inconclusive. So my hope is that we will be able to try again. At least myself, I will not stop trying. The issues are very, very important.
Don't you think Iran is playing this to come to the talks the end of the week a little bit harder, that they can gain more things?
Well, I wouldn't like to speculate on what they may wish to do. Well, all I know is that they could not agree with me yesterday.
And the reflection of this could be, what is the reflection of not?
Suspensive points for what? I don't know.
No,
Could be what?
I'm thinking a little bit of the talks.
Uh-huh.
That if the IAEA say that until now you have been talking, but you haven't reached an agreement or you haven't come to an deal. So this will have definitely a reflection on the talks next week.
Well, it's a good question for those who are going to be attending those talks.
Albert Otti, DPA, German Press
Hello.
Agency. Hello. In your remarks to the board, you reiterated that the restrictions on your inspections are undermining your ability to have a continuity of knowledge. I mean, your inspectors know basically what Iran is doing, and they know the restrictions they have. So my question is, when do you foresee a point when these current restrictions accumulate to something so serious that it makes basically no longer...
We're not far from that.
Can you give us an order of magnitude, weeks, months, days?
I would say we are close to that.
Sorry, can you specify you're close to what? Can you finish
We are close to the point, I'm saying to you, we are close to the point where I would not be able to guarantee continuity of knowledge.
Hello, DG.
Hello.
Justin Nicara from AFB. Two very quick questions, if I may. Did you make any progress at all on the substance of these differences with Iran? Was there any forward movement? And secondly, you noted before how unusual it was that since the government of President Raisi had taken office, there'd been this lack of contact. You described it as astonishing. So this was your first chance to interact with that administration. Did you notice any change from the previous administration? How would you characterize them in general?
Yeah, this is a good point, because if I could describe this as clearly a positive element, in that we needed to see each other, we needed to meet, to get to know each other. This is why I was saying that it was astonishing that I hadn't had this opportunity. Now we've had it, and I think this will help. This will certainly help, because we had, they listened to me. I certainly listened to them, and they have views, very specific views on certain things, which they have been making public. And I was also able to explain how I see the process, what is expected from them, what I expect from them, and the way in which I hope to be working with them. So in this sense, it was indispensable. It was indispensable that we start a face-to-face contact and negotiation. In terms of the substance, no, quite clearly we were not able to make progress.
None at all?
No.
Hello, Mr. Grossi.
Hello.
I'm Ahmad Samadi from Iran International TV. I want to know your comment about Iranian Head of Atomic Energy Organization, who claimed yesterday you admitted no deviation in Iran nuclear program. What's your comment about?
First of all, I don't have anything to admit, so
you admitted no deviation in Iran.
Yeah, I don't have anything to admit. First of all. Secondly, this is not something we did not discuss. We did not discuss that.
Yeah, he told in a joint press conference with you.
Apparently in Farsi, I did not hear that, but we did not discuss this. I think they were referring to previous IAEA reports, but this is my interpretation. I think they were referring to the previous IAEA reports that had indicated that there were no deviations and so on and so forth. But we didn't discuss this yesterday. It was not the point of the conversations yesterday, really.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Thank you. So if you allow me, I would have one additional question
Yes,
on
please.
the treatment of your inspectors,
Yeah.
which you also reported had to undergo some intimidating security checks. So I was wondering if this was also discussed with your counterparts in Iran.
Yes, it was
if you
discussed,
have
and
made any progress.
I hope these issues will not occur again. As you remember, we had a couple of, or more than a couple, a few episodes. We addressed them bilaterally with Iran, and these episodes seemed to stop, and then they restarted. So this is why we addressed it again, and I'm hopeful that they understood that they have their reasons. I think my reports elaborate on those, but we explain that any security measure must always be compatible with the agreements between all countries and the agency in terms of how you deal with inspectors.
DG, you say you're close to the point where you can't guarantee continuity of knowledge. Is that because you know something is happening at Karaj? Does that mean because you think that it's already back in operation? Because if it's not in operation, then that's not really an issue.
We don't have access, but it is obvious.
We don't have access, but it is obvious that such a long period of time without us getting access, knowing whether there are operational activities ongoing, is something that in itself would at some point prevent me from continuing to say that I have an idea of what is going on. And this is what I'm explaining. I've explained this to my Iranian counterparts very clearly.
Then if I may, just to follow up, more generally on the political situation at the moment, we have talks, the JCPOA talks resuming on Monday. We have a board meeting starting now, and it seems that to some extent action against Iran on this point and others at the board meeting is being sacrificed at the altar of continuing the JCPOA talks. So is that how you see it? Are the JCPOA talks effectively undermining your safeguards and your position relative to Iran?
No, I would never say that. It is clear, and I agree with you, that there is there are mutual influences, and what may happen in one place will have an impact on the other. But I would never say that. No.
Mr. Director General, since you already informed the board that you are close not to know what is going on, so what you are expecting from the board? Shall we expect a resolution? What?
I see. No, it's up to the board. I have to inform them what the situation is, and at the same time, as I said before, I will continue to reach out to Iran so we can address this issue. This is indispensable. We have to solve this issue quickly.
Sorry, just one more.
Yes.
you say you have to solve it quickly. I'm guessing there was no date that was fixed for another visit or any other talks or any other contact?
No, but one thing that we agreed with the foreign minister and with others there is that we will try to be in close contact. One of the things I was complaining about was this silence, that we had this absence of contact. So I will not hesitate to reach out to them as many times as I need to impress on them the need to help us solve this issue.
Yeah, thanks. I have a follow-up question on
Yes.
the security checks of the IAEA inspectors. Did you actually, you say you're hopeful. Did you get any actual indication from your Iranian counterparts that they are willing to adapt their security checks?
Well, what we told them is that they must do that because this is a legal obligation. It's not a favor I'm asking. Every country signs a privileges and immunities agreement, which is a legal instrument which is intended to protect inspectors from intimidation, from seizure of their property, and our Iranian colleagues have instituted a number of measures which are simply incompatible. So we have explained to them, and I hope they will listen to us, that of course we do understand that they have an increased security alert in certain places. It's their, of course, sovereign right to decide where they put an emphasis on security, but in doing so they must respect the immunity of the inspectors. Yes, Joe.
Hi, this is Jordi from FN. So you have been in Iran with the former government and now with the new government. Is there a different way of having these talks? Is it, besides the business, atmosphere, do you feel any difference? Are they much tougher on certain things? Or is it directly a different way of approaching you?
I would say the way, no. Of course, the foreign minister is a distinguished career diplomat and ambassador, and the others are all professionals. But the positions are, of course, very different. Very different. And I think there's no surprise in this. They themselves say it. So the challenge for all of us is to understand each other. It's a different government, they have the position they want, and Iran has given itself the government it wants. So for me there's no problem. I have to work with the government I have, but we need to agree. We need to agree. Sorry?
You're on a technical mission, so how can the stance be so different? I mean, on technical issues.
Well, yes, they can be different. They can, because when it comes to inspections, when it comes to agreements, there are certain ways to interpret them, and this is why we are trying to make sure that the new approaches in the government do not affect the way in which we work. But the differences are clear, yes.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and again my apologies for yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you.